actual auction itself and leading up to the auction, you could just feel it in the air, this excitement. You never know what's really going to happen because people keep their cards very close to their chest. I knew there was going to be interest, I knew it was going to do well, but I never anticipated how well it was going to do.
The most prized of the Vincents is undoubtedly a Black Lightning. This example, which I saw in the flesh when it was in France, is quite amazing because it's original. And race bikes, as you can imagine, they get knocked around. And this has got all its battle scars. That's why this one's so special. A, it's a record setter. B, it's a Black Lightning. And C, it's just as it was when it set records, and I don't think there's another motorcycle like this.
The motorcycle in question, the Ehret Lightning, back in the summer of 2017, I received a phone call from a guy called Patrick Godet, very well-known Vincent restorer, Vincent Maestro, and his client had this motorcycle that he'd mechanically restored but cosmetically left it alone. And I don't think I could have been in my car on the Eurotunnel faster. I walk into this immaculate workshop and there is the bike up on a pedestal as it should be, surrounded by all of its original parts, the sidecar, all the cowling off the machine, all their untouched original paint, still with Ehret's annotations over it, framed by this old packing crate with the Vincent stamp on it. I mean, it was just incredible. One of those moments where you get shivers down your spine.
So the post-war Vincent, when it was introduced, if you think about the environment, certainly in England, was incredibly tough for people. There was rationing, there was a housing shortage. A lot of people were coming back from the war, either damaged mentally or damaged physically. Call it the genius or call it the sheer chutzpah. Philip Vincent decided that what the world needed was this motorcycle that would do 110 miles an hour, cost the same as a small house, and would use up whatever little petrol coupons you had. The other great thing he had was this, I think, romanticism. You know, he could see that a motorcycle could be more than just a very fast vehicle, so he gave them these wonderful names like Black Lightning, Black Shadow. There was a mystique to the brand Vincent, and I think Vincent was very adept at creating the mystique. Vincent motorcycles set records around the world. So there were records in Brazil, in Ireland, in Belgium, in France, in America, in Australia. So there was a cohort of people who would read about somebody else doing this, thinking, if I got a Vincent, I could do that. One of the most interesting, successful Vincent record setters was Rolly Free. It's one of the most famous pictures in motorcycling, possibly the most famous. Him at the Bonneville Salt Flats with a swimming cap and swimming trunks and what looked like kind of basketball boots on. Jack Ehret is in the same tradition. Wanted to be the fastest person in Australia on two wheels.
Jack Ehret was a motorcycle dealer. He was also clearly a speed freak and adrenaline junkie. And Land Speed Records sold bikes. The previous record was around 122 miles an hour. Other Vincents are going faster than that, and I'm sure that's what would have inspired him to make this record attempt. Why is the Vincent Black Lightning the Holy Grail of motorcycling? There were only ever 33 examples produced. There are only 19 correct examples still in existence. And it's on every collector's wish list. This particular example of a Vincent Black Lightning was produced in 1951. The bike had a fantastic history. We knew every single owner from when this machine was built at the factory. It was an Australian guy called Tony McAlpine. He took it back to Australia, where he then sold it to another chap who owned it for only a short period of time, then went to another Australian vehicle dealer before Jack Ehret came along and bought the machine. He then had it for the next 47, 50 years and did the Australian Land Speed Records, which was just over 141 miles an hour. We had the original wheels, the original cowling, tank, saddle, all of these parts which are incredibly hard to find. The previous record for a motorcycle at auction was for a 1915 Cyclone that was sold in 2012 for $851,000.
Jack Ehret, speed record-breaking Vincent, 1951 Black Lightning.
We had guys from the UK, America, Australia, mainland Europe, all interested in acquiring this motorcycle.
Yes, 500,000.
It really came alive around the $550,000, $600,000 mark, because that's where the real bidding battle started to take place between a gentleman in the audience and a gentleman on the phone.
580. Does it stay here in the US?
The whoops and the cheers, and when it got to around $790,000, $800,000, the guy in the room was shaking his head, and the auctioneer, said, "Just one more, sir?"
At $830,000, are you sure? One more? One more? $835,000.
When Philip Vincent passed away in 1979, he didn't think these motorcycles would be forgotten, and he always thought there would be a market for them. Now, I don't think he could have predicted the sort of prices that this motorcycle's fetched, but he did know that these things were special. He probably knew that nothing like it would be built again.
At $840,000. United States of America, you're done. Great Britain, you're out. Well done, the Aussies.